Prime gets presented in some classic colors. Here's your look at the Transformers War for Cybertron. This is the 35th anniversary Optimus Prime. To celebrate the 35th anniversary of Transformers, Optimus Prime from the War for Cybertron line gets a redeco in his classic animation colors. So the first thing we're going to do is measure off to the top of Optimus Prime, just in case you're curious as to how tall the leader of the Autobots stands. While I'm also doing this, I'd also like to send out a big thank you to the folks over at Hasbro, who were nice enough to send this my way. The Ultra Mesotron 5000, no relations to the Autobots, by the way, although it could be. Not sure. According to the readout, though, nonetheless, the leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime, in his classic colors, stands 6.8 inches in height. And that switches over as well to centimeters as being 17.2 centimeters tall. To come include with Optimus, he comes with his trademark Ion Blaster. The blaster itself looks like it does from the original vintage cartoon, although there is a lot of plastic that has been removed to save costs. It still does hold true the design and the shape of the Ion Blaster, and one thing for the classic colors, the animation colors, is that they've actually added all this neat additional silver, almost like a reflection coming off of the barrel and the rest of the gun. It's really, really cool. I like that. Now, it does fit into his hands, as it really should. It fits into either one of his hands. And then he also has these connector points on the sides where you can attach it on his arms, you can attach it to his shoulders, and there's a couple of different other places that you can put it as well. You can even take the blaster and fit it around to his back if you want to put some storage in play, if you don't have a place to put it for the time being. Let's say, for example, you want to display Optimus Prime with, oh, I don't know, perhaps the axe. Then you could put the blaster on his back. As for his axe, it doesn't quite look like the original vintage axe. It would have actually been really cool if they could have done this in all orange to simulate the bladed axe that he has in the original mini-series. Nonetheless, though, it's still a really neat design, and one of which that can fold up on itself. The axe itself even has transforming features. You can take the blade and you can fold that in like that. You can fold this part in like this, and then you've got yourself an Autobot shield. Some nice detailing done to the shield itself, and no, that's not movie magic. What you're seeing is the reflection cascading. It's been painted across the front of it. It really does give that neat looking animation design to it. Now you can use this and you can display this on Prime's arm, for example. You can attach that as a shield, and you can protect the leader of the Autobots that way. Or what you can also do too is just take the Ion Blaster off, take the shield off, and you can also take the shield and you can connect it onto the top, just like that. Give him some extra needed firepower, I suppose. And then you can, of course, bring these guys out as well, the axe blades. Just, again, some added playability. And I'm all about playability. If you can add some extra things to weapons and accessories, why not? You'd be able to do that. So those are his two weapons of choice. The axe and the blaster are both which can also be stored on the transforming one, on Optimus Prime, when you transform him down into his vehicle mode. Speaking of vehicle mode, this is what Optimus Prime looks like in his Cybertronian truck mode. Sort of a still nod to how he looks on his Earth mode truck, although he has some additional things that weren't present there before. I kind of like this design. And you can kind of see how that reflection has been incorporated into the actual surface of the plastic. A lighter color of pink reflects off the front and the sides of the truck. When I look at this, not specifically the vehicle mode, but certainly when I look at Optimus Prime, it reminds me of the Transformers Devastation game, which it had very much this sort of cel-shaded design. Even like the windshields have some reflective paint that's been added to the front. And even on the front, I'm assuming these are headlights. Those are also done in a reflective surface as well. It's a really neat looking design. I would have loved also as well that we're going to be getting an Earth mode version of Optimus Prime too. Perhaps, even though this is a Walmart exclusive, so the only way that you can pick it up is by picking up through Walmart. I hope that the Earth mode Optimus Prime may get a similar similar treatment. Classic colors, though, nonetheless, though, represented here in the red, represented here on the blue. You can take things like his ion blaster, and now you've got a few more visible points. You can peg it into the side, or you can peg it into the back of the cab there. Or you also have a couple of connector points located on the top there also. The shield can also be stored the exact same way. The size of dowel is the exact same, so you can attach it to the top. Kind of looks a bit ridiculous having so much excessiveness on the top there, but you can also take the shield and you can connect it to the back if you want to kind of give them like kind of a bladed back section there. Of course, these can also fold in, so it's not necessarily telling you have to keep them there. One thing about the axe, though, is you want to be careful. They swing in a certain way. You want to take this blade and fold it in first, take the smaller blade and fold it in next. It seems when you reverse it and even trying to pull the larger blade out, it only frees itself once you've unlocked the back smaller blade, and then you can pop this out. It's a bit still tight, but you can still bring that out. So there's a little bit of storage, like I said, on Prime. You can store this on the back of his cab. Or, again, there's a few little connector points. Even, like, really on the back section here, there are a couple of other connector points, making for some slightly ridiculous ways of displaying the weapon if you wanted to. But we'll go ahead and take that off. As for his truck mode, again, it's a Cybertronian cab, and it does look really, really nice. It rolls well, and certainly a non-rolling Prime would be certainly problematic, but this Prime rolls perfectly fine. So I'm not too upset over this design of mode. If they had made it more Cybertronian, I think the idea of Prime would be maybe a little bit more lost. I like the fact that they've only kind of really kept it to this top piece that they've added to kind of enhance the idea that Cybertronian, as well as these front sections of the bumper. Really, if you remove this and this was removed, it would look something a little bit more closer to the Earth mode Optimus Prime that we know and love. Now, getting the transformation underway, we're going to transform the cab to Optimus Prime. 27 steps, which seems long, and once you start kind of getting down the pattern, you know that a lot of the panels kind of lock everything in place. It's just a matter of knowing which panels to free up. For example, when you are ready to start transforming Optimus Prime, you just want to free up the side sections first. Just kind of get that detached, and you can also move the windshields out of the way as well. Once those are pretty much freed up, it's a lot simpler of a step to kind of get your hand around to the bottom section, pull up this tab, and just kind of free up the top section of the cab. You can kind of already see how Optimus Prime is starting to unfold, literally unfolding by just moving some of the panels, the simple few panels that we've already touched. Next thing you probably will want to do is just free up those wheels as well. That will allow you to get access to the panels located on the side. Once those have detached, you can quite easily get access to Prime's arms and start kind of moving those out of the way. You can free those off, and while you're also at it, just kind of detach the leg, just kind of unlocking all the extra things that are holding Prime in place. Free up the arms, get those completely out of the way. You really don't need to worry about those just yet. And that's pretty much the start of what will be Optimus Prime. Take these tires and fold them up. You just want to fold them up like this, and they hinge in two different places. Hinge them the first time, and then hinge them a second time. They're basically going to want to collapse in on themselves and snap to either side of his body. That gives you a lot more luxury to get access to everything else that you need to do. You can move the legs out, for example, detach them, or what you will want to do is just remove this thing first, detach this from itself, bring these out, unlock the latches on either side, and detach his legs like so. Okay, so to finish the legs, all you have to do is spin it around to the back. Now, this, of course, would be the bottom of the truck. You're going to take these wheels, and you need to take the wheels from this side, flip them around to the other side, and there's just a hinge. I don't know if you can see it right there. Quite easy. Flip that around, so now the tires are facing on the inside of his legs. We're going to go ahead and do that the same on both. And really, we could finish the steps on both sides to finish off Prime's legs. I'm going to fold this around. This would be the fuel tank on the side of the truck. Fold that out, and you get access to this little panel. Snap that in onto the side, and then this folds down like so. Take the front of the feet, fold those out. Take the back of the heels, fold those out. And then you can just finish things off by closing off the front covers of his legs. And that finishes off one of Prime's legs. Very easy. We can do the exact same thing on the other side. So that would be on this side. We're going to fold that in like that. Take the back, fold this out, fold that in, tuck in the back cover like so, and you can fold out Prime's legs. And then, of course, finishing off, you cover off those covers. Now, this is the front of Prime, at least his legs. This is the front of his body. So then all you have to do is just take the legs and spin them around. Spin them around. And that pretty much gives you the bottom of Prime's body. Just kind of making sure everything is snapped and securely in place. Most, if not all, of Prime's torso is pretty much already completed. All it just takes is a few little cleaning up steps. You're going to take the headlights, fold those down, and you can take the back cover and fold that to finish off the arm. We'll do the exact same thing on this side. There we go. And fold that down. Straighten out the arms. Open this up. Get access to Prime's head. Certainly helps if you have longer nails. Fold that in, and there's the top of Prime, including his head. Take now the canopy section, and you'll want to fold this in, fold this as well as this. That tucks in, and then this whole section spins around and tabs into place. There's a tab right there and a tab there, which opens and connects to these little slots here. Tab that into place, and then all you have to do is just fix up the smokestacks, and you've got yourself one finished Optimus Prime. Optimus Prime here happens to share the exact same mold as the wide retail release Siege War for Cybertron Optimus Prime. There's nothing different between one and the other. No difference in head mold, no tweaking really at all in the mold itself. It's simply just a variation in colors. This would, of course, be a perfect time in the review that I would move this figure over and happen to bring in the other War for Cybertron Siege Optimus Prime. ... Unfortunately, I never picked it up. I was really close, in fact, of having it in hand and putting it in my shopping cart, but I ultimately just passed. I really liked the mold, and I'm not really sure even to this day why I passed so much on it. Overall, I'm really impressed by the Siege Transformers in general, but I think for Prime, I kind of set the bar really high. The mold is so good, but I find one detractor for some of the Siege figures, and some of the things where Transformer fans have kind of been on the fence for, was the inclusion of the battle-damaged gray paint that they added across many of the surfaces of these Transformer releases. In fact, really, the Siege Transformers in general, their calling card has been this gray additional paint that they've added. And I've heard that you can remove the paint. So ultimately, I may even go back and still find myself picking up that Optimus Prime. So I do have the two versions of Prime in the darker color scheme, or more realistic colors. And then this one here in his vibrant colors from the cartoon. So let's have a look at this figure. I love this mold. I might even just say this is a definitive Optimus Prime. Now, we are still getting ourselves an Earth mode version of Optimus Prime that I really feel does utilize a lot of the exact same mold, with a talking point I'll mention in a second. I guess the only one thing that is a separation, or literally is the one thing I wish could be separated, is this backpack. The backpack, the hinge point, and of course this will be the canopy on the front of the cab. If only they could have found the means to actually have this a detachable part. There is obviously a pin running through it. I wouldn't even entertain the idea of taking the pin out. But if only they could have had this as something that become completely detached. Because every bit of the rest of Optimus Prime in the back is finished. There's nothing that looks open or hollow. I guess you could say, based on the fact that the windshield panels up the top there would now, of course, be on the bottom, it kind of does, from a distance, look like he has the jetpack that he would have had in the earlier episodes of Transformers Generation 1 cartoon. So I guess that is not too big of a deal breaker for me. Everything else on Optimus Prime feels finished and sealed and covered, even like the backs of his legs, though a little bit more open, I suppose. They've done a good enough job of concealing it by having flip around panels to hide a lot of what would be open hollow chasms in the backs of his legs. As we had already discussed, certainly is the paint deco is the one draw to this particular figure. From certain angles, it looks like something I would see from Transformers Devastation. Even like from certain angles, I feel like this is the part of the Transformers animated film where the fallen Megatron is kind of in the dark shadows, and Optimus Prime is walking in, and the sunlight's hitting him just right. The reflection on the things like his windshield, on his arms, and specifically even like his head, really does make a lot of the details and the mold options that they decided to go with really pop on this particular figure. As for the head sculpt, it's a stunning looking Optimus Prime. As close to Generation 1, I think, as you could possibly get. The additional having the classic animation colors means also things like reflective surfaces are added to his face guard, for example. Normally, I'm not a big fan of light piping because I find unless you have a light source always constantly shining through the back of his head, normally, light-piped figureheads generally will have really dark eyes, unless you always have light shining right behind it. I like that they opted here instead by giving Prime painted eyes, so that his eyes are always glowing, always pulsating when you're looking at them. He has his trademark Autobot logo on the top of one shoulder, and then he has like little notable things that you would expect to find in the cartoon, like the inverted yellow triangle and the yellow section of his belt. Even like the grill on the front of his cab does have its own little sheen to it. Now, I did mention that this is going to be likely reused for an old Earth mode Optimus Prime, and I believe that Earth mode Optimus Prime is also going to have the front section open up as it does right now, and inside is going to be the Autobot Matrix of Leadership. Again, this is kind of a talking point on this particular release of Optimus Prime. This, for all intensive purposes, could be a definitive Prime. I would even say, though, I would love to see when we eventually get that Earth mode Optimus Prime, that we do get the Walmart kind of same exclusive color treatment done on this Prime here, on that one also as well. The thing about that Prime, and maybe more discussion on this particular one right here, is that if you look on the front of the surface of this Prime, everything really on the front, so his legs, his arms, and even his torso, has that reflective paint that's been added to it. Ironically enough, though, if you spin the figure around, there's not anywhere of that on the back of the figure. And I guess that makes some sense. Obviously, if you're going to have light shining and reflecting off the surface of his metal, you're really only going to be seeing it from the front of the figure. The figure is still superposable, and still from certain angles, it would make sense that the light source is really only hitting this side, and not necessarily on the back of the figure at all. Let's talk about his articulation, because there's really a lot to cover. Prime is super articulated, so right off the bat you get a really good sculpt of Prime, definitely one of the best that Hasbro has released in recent memory, but also he's super articulated as well. Let's talk about that right now. His head hinges up and down. It's on a ball joint, and a very generous ball joint as well. Head hinges up and down. You can rock it back and forth, and you can rotate the head all the way around. Due to his transformation, his waist swivels. You can move the arms out. And while you do move his arms out, one of the things that they did do was they had the smokestacks be on hinges. So when you rotate the arms up, you can see that the smokestacks also move out of the way also. If only Hot Rod could have moved out of the way as well as those smokestacks do. That's for another point. Rotating the arms all the way around, you can see that they are fully articulated, be a ball joint inside. He has a single hinge and I guess almost a double hinge happening in the elbow. And then he also has swivels in the wrists. The legs go forward, the legs go back, the legs go out. And being the fact that they attach to the ball joints the way that they do, you can also swivel the legs back and forth if you kind of want a more stoic pose for Prime. He does have a single bend in the knee, although quite, again, a very generous bend in the knee. And then he also has foot articulation. The foot angles in such a way that you can get those quite heroic poses for the leader of the Autobots. So again, like that's really cool that they can incorporate something like that. Being also that his articulation is also affected by his transformation, you can also arch Prime's feet up and down. You can't really arch them up higher, but you can certainly bring them down lower if you wanted to. Again, if you wanted to have a more stoic pose for Prime. there's really very little that I could say fault-wise that I dislike about this particular mold. This is really, again, one of the best primes that I've seen in recent memory. Even though I don't really review Transformers, it's sort of one of those things where I've debated to myself, do I really want to get into Transformers reviews? I have done certainly ones in the past, and it just really boils down to the fact that there's so many other things that I cover off on this channel that Transformers, even though I still pick them up and add them to my personal collection, it's something really I need to spend more so time doing here on this channel, because there's really a lot of cool offerings that Hasbro has been doing over the years. By far, in my personal opinion, this is one of the best primes that I've seen in recent memory. And taking the one thing I didn't like so much about the mass retail release, removing the battle damaged paint in favor of these vibrant classic animation colors, really now makes this a definitive prime that you'll want to add to your collection. New and longtime viewers of this channel could probably get a good assumption based on the kind of content that I'm posting of the kind of stuff that this guy is interested in, this humbled reviewer. Action figure collecting, and certainly most definitely horror related items, would be a pretty safe assumption. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. You probably could also make the assumption, and you should generally not make an assumption, don't judge a book by its cover, that this guy doesn't dig Transformers. After all, if he did, you probably would see more Transformers reviews on this channel. Au contraire, mon frere. While I would agree to the fact that I don't post nearly enough Transformers reviews on this channel, it really only boils down to time than anything else. I can't really review everything because I would not have time to sleep, not have time to eat, and not have certainly time to go out on my regular job. But I still am a big fan of Transformers collecting. Even to this day, I'm regularly going out to the stores, and if there's something that catches my fancy, I most definitely add it to my shopping carts. That's both in a physical brick and mortar store and online as well. I have been collecting sporadically, yes, but I've still been collecting the War for Cybertron Siege Transformers, as certainly they have kind of reinvested my love for the original Generation 1 cartoon. They really have been a love letter for a lot of Generation 1 collectors because it brings back all the famous, loved characters from the yesteryear, brought them back with a new coat of paint. I will say, though, while I do love the molds on all of these new Transformer Siege figures, the one, again, detractor a bit for me is the inclusion of the battle-damaged gray paint, which unfortunately has made the surface on a lot of the Transformers. I still like the molds, don't get me wrong, and the toys are fantastic, but that is the one thing that I wish that Hasbro could pull back on, kind of remove that battle-damaged. Still, nonetheless, though, this is a stellar Optimus Prime. I didn't get a chance to get the original War for Cybertron Siege Optimus Prime that would have basically been this mold in darker colors, but I am so thrilled for the fact that Hasbro was nice enough to send this one my way. I don't think here in Canada we would have gotten the exclusive colors. That's not to say that I don't go to Walmart right now and they've got them sitting on the shelf. When I did see the initial images surface of both the exclusive Walmart Prime and the exclusive colored Megatron, I was very excited because I already was invested in the line in the first place. The only thing that was missing for me to jump wholeheartedly into this line was giving them vibrant colors, which I think this Prime and the Megatron certainly do have. Prime, I feel like I'm looking at him from the cartoon. I love the reflective surfaces that they put on the surface of his plastic. And overall, this feels like Prime, the way Prime should be. Hasbro has been releasing a lot of cool primes over the years, but this one very well might be, especially in these new classic cartoon colors, might very well be my favorite prime that I've picked up in the last couple of years. And again, I'm picking up Transformers on a regular basis. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the Transformers 35th anniversary, the classic animation, or I think of it as the Transformers Devastation Optimus Prime. Always like reading your comments down below. You guys want to see more Transformers reviews on this channel? Like I said, I do pick up Transformers. I just don't do nearly enough Transformers reviews. That can most definitely change with some of the cool offerings that Hasbro has in the immediate future, especially that Earth Mode Optimus Prime. I'm very excited about that one coming out. And again, a big thank you to the folks over at Hasbro for sending these my way. We're going to be having a look. We already had a look at the Optimus Prime here, and we will be having a look at the classic cartoon colors Megatron in an upcoming video as well. So stay tuned for those. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure as well you head on over to the home page just to make sure that there's nothing that you may have missed along the way. And keep your peepers peeled, because there's going to be a whole bunch of videos coming your way. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.